Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam. Okay, so this is our 18th episode of Black Tea, and this time we're going to go live. It's just going to be myself and Sister Destiny. And yeah, so we can go ahead and get started, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So we always start with the book reflection, and we're currently on reading Naturally Beautiful, which we've been reading this book since we started the podcast.
Since September. Yes, ma'am.
But I'm actually happy that we are reading it at a slow pace because it's allowing us to really process what Sister Ava is telling us and giving us time to implement what she's saying.
Yes, ma'am.
So you ready to get into the questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So in Sister Faith and I say that Sister Ava gave us 2 books in this one book because she started over in her chapters. So in part 2 of this of Naturally Beautiful, but it's referred to as chapter 1, who you are and what you have. And something that stuck out to me was when Sister Ava was talking about dreams. So the first question I have is, what does it mean to you that a woman needs to be able to have her own dreams?
Well, to me, I think, I know for me personally, like after I got married, I just kind of became engulfed in that and was focused on my son, and I wasn't really focused on anything other than that, just strictly that. And I wasn't entirely happy. I wasn't sad, but I wasn't entirely happy, and that was because I didn't have a sense of what I wanted to do, what my goals were, my dreams were. I just kind of gave them up. My lips look super white, but I just kind of gave that up. So I think that for me, what it means is not to lose yourself, even in the midst of having several different roles as a wife, a mother, and all of that, a sister. Don't lose yourself. And it's still important to have your own sense of identity, your own sense of, I don't want to say independency, but I guess in the sense like being an individual, I'll say it like that, to still be an individual.
Yes, ma'am. I think individuality is the right word, like you're saying. Sister Ava speaks about that in Real Love, how we should still be individual people. Assalamu alaikum to everyone who's joining. Also, I want to say what we want to say. Typically, we have guests when we go live. So at any point, if anybody wants to answer the questions, I will hop off and we can continue the conversation, and you can chime in this conversation, and I'm going to stay in the audience, and then when you're ready to get off, I'll come back on. So Sister Faith are doing it like that as well, since typically when we go live, we bring on a guest, but we just decided to go live for our episode. So yes, the individuality is so important, and similar to you, Sister Faith, not only after making a decision to be on the journey of marriage, but then moving from Chicago, it was just so many things that happened for me at one time that I thought I was ready for it, and then I was like, oh wait, what just happened? And so because sometimes you think you're ready for something, and then when a lot give you all those things, you're like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? It's like you just, well, for me, I got stuck. I'm not going to say other people do, but I got stuck. And honestly, I'm just coming out of that like stuck phase. And so personally, to me, it's not just that a woman needs to be able to have her own dreams, but a woman needs to be able to understand, have a firm hold on her dreams, no matter what changes come up in her life. So what the last episode, which we're still going to be promoting this week, a lot is adaptable. What Sister Tarika was speaking on, like, it's just so true. To be grounded, I think it's important to be grounded in a lot, because really when I think about dreams, it's the connection that we have with Allah. I was looking at the definition, and it's a succession of images, thoughts, or emotions passing through the mind, and it says during sleep. But we're going to take out the sleep part for this um for this context of what we're discussing, because I think in our subconscious and consciously, and I think that's why as women our dreams kind of not fade, but it get pushed off because we think about them subconsciously, but it's like, are we thinking about them all the time with all the different roles that we hold, like you were just speaking on? So for me, I would say when we're more connected to Allah, then the dream stays at the forefront. And I think that's what it personally means to me, to be able to see Allah's will, you be able to know what you desire and what you dream, and then being able to act on it. So I think that's what it personally means to me, like building your connection with Allah, because then you can see the dreams a little bit more clear. Any more thoughts from you on that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I just want to share what Sister Ava said. She said, what this little book is about, however, is the idea that we as women need to be able to have our own dreams. We each need another person in our lives to view our goals in a positive way. Until large numbers of men evolve spiritually, the world will remain deprived of the fruits of feminine thinking. It is our responsibility to produce and cultivate such men. And I wanted to share that because I think it also changes the context when you read it from Sister Ava's standpoint. Because from my understanding, it's like Sister Ava's saying, when a woman has dreams, she is able to, it speaks to the statement of a nation can rise no higher than its woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, a woman has to be grounded in who she is and be able to act on and implement the things that she sees for herself. And when she can do that, and again, what you were saying about not independence, but individuality, I think that it helps to raise the man.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else from that context, Sister Ava's words?
No, ma'am, not that.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So, Sister Ava says also in this chapter that every person is forced to acknowledge that the female is the carrier of physical life on the planet. And this divine power as the carrier of physical life on the planet, and this divine power cannot be taken away by men. I apologize, I read that twice. However, many men and women refuse to accept the female as the transformative agent of that physical life. I think that context is important before we get into the question. So, would you say that you have accepted or are accepting that women are the transformative agent of that physical life?
I believe that I am in the process of accepting it. And this particular subject or topic is really interesting to me because earlier today I made a post on Facebook and it was in reference to something that the minister said. And I'm going to go find it really quick. But the minister said, I pray that every woman comes together. Oh my gosh, I don't even remember where it is. I don't even see it. But he said, he prays that every woman, no matter who she is, comes together to, okay, he says, I pray that women, no matter who they are, will come together and work together to make a mark that says a new world is coming in, and it's coming in through women. Now, I made that post, and this brother, I don't know, he's not registered, but a brother commented on it, and he said, what you are saying is putting the woman in front of the man, and that is unacceptable to God, since God created man before woman. And that just goes right along with what Sister Dr. Ava says in regards to the man not accepting it, pretty much. And no, she says that the divine power cannot be taken away by men. And it's like, wow, this it's really unfortunate that we weren't given this knowledge like from birth, because it was robbed from us. And now we're in the process of going through the motions of, one, being a woman and understanding what that means. And then two, you have men who don't necessarily understand it and maybe don't want to understand it, or looked at it in a way as to where it's degrading them, but it's not even putting them down. It's not denouncing them in any type of way. If you really look at it, it's like you have power in that too, because I can't get pregnant without you. So we have to work together. But as a woman in that area, I have a little bit more of a responsibility because I'm the co-creator, and I have to make sure that my mind is right, my thoughts are right, in order to bring in a new world through me. Like, it's coming, the baby is coming out through me. That doesn't mean that your role is insignificant. It just means that we have to really work together to make sure that this life that is in me is being formed properly. But to answer your question, I believe that I am in the process of accepting that. I can't say that I fully understand that right now, because I do believe that as I continue to grow and learn, then it's going to resonate within me differently. But yeah, I'm accepting it.
Yes, ma'am.
What about you, Sister Destiny?
Well, just to add to what you're saying about the brother, I think that until we as women, because first off, we're the second self of God. So until we accept that, that truth, then I don't think a man, I don't think a man is going to fully understand that. But it's because we don't understand our roles, then a man could be offended or even intimidated by that. But if a man is intimidated by that, he's not being a real man. But it's just because he lacks the understanding of who he is and his true nature, which also even speaks to us as women not fully understanding. Because if we both walk into our nature properly, then a real man will actually respect and honor a woman as that. Praise be to Allah. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Taylor. So if anytime anyone wants to join in the conversation, I will step out, because we typically do these segments with guests, and you can feel free to contribute to the conversation. So to answer the question, though, the question that we're talking about right now is, would you say you have accepted or are accepting that women are the transformative agent of that physical life? So it reminds me of, I think it was episode 11 with Sister Judith. And, you know, the question that was posed to her was, what does it personally mean to you to be a co-creator, not the second self, to be a co-creator with Allah? And she says, you have to know what you're doing, and that you're doing just that. And so with that, I will say that initially I accept that. But to know, wa alaikum salam, but to know that, to understand what that means in depth, I don't understand what that means in depth. I'm learning. I'm learning as I continue to study, and I'm learning, inshallah, if given the opportunity to carry Allah's children, and to actually for them to come on this earth side, to carry and to bring the child earth side are two different things. So I say that I accept it, but do I understand what that means? And I think you can accept something but not fully know what that means. So I just want to make that clear. And so that's where I'm at. That's where I am on that.
You know, that when you said that, because I said it too, there was a point in time where I really did not understand how you could accept something but not fully understand it. And it wasn't until, you know, reading this book and learning my nature as a woman where that really started to make sense to me. It's like, wow, you know, I accept this because I know it feels like it's right. It feels like it's right. The knowledge is coming to me in terms of being able to see this within myself, but I don't fully understand it. And I think that pretty much goes with a lot of things, like especially when it comes to the restrictive laws. Like, we may not fully understand them, but we can accept it, and we know that we have to obey this command, and then later on understanding will come. I just wanted to add that real quick.
And that's important to add, because it's our obedience and our humility where Allah gives us the understanding.
Yes, ma'am.
But it could be so hard to submit when you like, I don't understand.
What's happening? Yes, ma'am.
So yeah, I really wish Sister Tarika's live didn't delete, because in that conversation, we were talking about her ritual, which that is in the actual recording of the episode, so that can be found on any of the podcast platforms. You can click the link in our bio to listen to the episode with Sister Tarika, Eliza Adaptable. But when she was talking about how, when she wakes up, she prays and she just studies and she stays to herself. And she says after all of that, she then introduces her phone to her day.
Mm-hmm.
And then she talks about, then she goes out from her room and goes and speaks to her family. And I was asking her what on the live, this is the part that you can't go back to, but I was asking her on the live why that is so significant and important as a ritual. And after she answered, I was being vulnerable, and I was sharing. We talked a lot about vulnerability, but I was talking about how we were talking about how you could be on the prayer rug and Allah tell you what to do. And I was saying in my vulnerable moment, I was like, sometimes when Allah tell me to do something in that moment, I'm like, but why? Like, this is how I talk to Allah. I'm just being honest. I'm like, but why? Why now? And why you want me to do it in that way? And I'm saying that in the sense of, because we just, talking about the importance of submitting and just doing what we're told to do, even when you don't know. But that's actually something that could bring us so much peace. So I just wanted to point that out, and I wish that live was still available, because it was such a, I would have called it vulnerability. But the next question we have is, what woman or women are role models for you and why?
I would have to say, for me, it was my grandmother. And the reason why is because she was just like the definition of a woman to me. Like, she was really, really strong. May Allah be pleased with my grandmother. She really taught me what it meant to be like the backbone, I guess, the backbone of a family, and to hold the family together. And I believe that now, I can't really say, and I don't want to give like biased opinions or like, oh, the Black family, like we just, we don't stick together. But from my perspective, I do think things are getting better. But it really took for grandmothers really to be that backbone of a family, and to hold the family together, to look out for the children while the mom or the dad is at work, whatever the case may be. And she just showed me how to be strong, if that makes sense. To not necessarily complain, and how to get over a thing in a certain way, so that it's not to be overbearing, and to where it's like consuming me to the point where I can't function. Like my grandmother, she dealt with things in her own way, and I can't really say if the way that she dealt with them were the best for me. I wouldn't handle them that way, but she handled them in a way that was best for her. And that just showed me like, okay, well, Faith, if you are going through this, you have to make sure that you're getting the proper help for yourself in order to continue to move forward, in order to continue to be strong. Because I can think that I'm strong just by taking on a boatload of things, and my mind is all messed up. I'm having anxiety attacks. I'm depressed. But that's not the proper strength, and that's not the strength that I want. I don't want to just keep on taking on stuff and it's just burying me, essentially. Like, I really want to be strong, and having her as an example or a role model, she really helped me in my development as a woman. So
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
for me.
Thank you for sharing. You said, I'm going to have to start writing stuff down again, but you said something that also speaks to the first question about dreams. And so maybe the exact word that you said will come back to me later. But there was something in there that you said. So anywho, for me, I was trying to think of what woman is a role model for me, but there were so many. So my answer is that honestly, that all women inspire me, and it's something in them that that can be a role model for me. It's something in them that can get me to my next point in my development where I'm growing.
Mm-hmm.
So even there was one day I was in Chicago with my nana, and I had seen prostitutes on the street before, but I had never seen a woman. I only seen this in movies. I had never seen a woman in the middle of the street, and she was so high, and my heart just, it just like was pouring out for her. Like I wanted to go and talk to her, embrace her, give her a meal, but she wasn't in the space for that.
Mm-hmm.
She was so out of it. And we had went down this street and we had to come back this way, so we end up seeing her again. And I'm sharing that to say, even a woman like that, who could be in one of the lowest conditions, something about her even inspires me, or I'm looking into her because I see her heart, and I know that somebody has taken advantage of her because she does not know the true knowledge and the true value of herself.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it would have to be all women, because there's something in all of us if we really just take the time to listen to one another, and if we really just see each other as human beings. Because also when I look at this word, I'm like, we sometimes we just don't treat each other even like we humans.
Yes, ma'am.
And so today that's my answer. And of course I can get specific women, but it's just so many women that are role models to me, honestly. um did you want to add on to that?
No, ma'am. I think that's really that's inspiring to hear you say that, and it makes me reevaluate the way that I look at us as women. Like, not to say that I don't look at us properly, but sometimes I may not. But I never really looked at it or considered all women to be a role model to me. I know I've been attracted to certain women, or certain women. Yeah, I'm attracted to certain women, just in the sense of being able to see certain qualities in them. But to hear you say that all women, like, that's really powerful and profound, and that goes right along with what the minister says in terms of we can learn from anyone. So I'm definitely going to have to reevaluate myself, and yeah, just start looking at my sisters in a different way so that I can, see the divinity in all of them, in all of us.
Yes, ma'am. There, it reminds me of Sister Ava's earlier chapters. Like, I don't know if you remember 6, 7, and I think even 8, where it talked about envious,
Oh, yes, ma'am.
and when Brother Jabril talks about I think he said a bitter woman is a drag. It may not be bitter. I got to get his words right. But we talked about us being a drag as women, and just along those lines of what you just said, in those chapters, Sister Ava was also speaking on how we have to stop. When we say we don't like someone, essentially it's us saying we don't like ourselves.
Yes, ma'am.
So when I think about it from that context, I'm like, recently, this is what okay, Brother Jabril, an unloving woman is a drag. So those are the right words. So when I think about those chapters, I'm like, it had me reflecting on the women that I said I didn't like. Or maybe I didn't say I didn't like them as a whole, but people, it was some things that they did, and I'm gonna say particularly I feel like what they did to me. But then when I started going back to those women, because Sister Ava, even she talked about how practice saying something nice about somebody you don't like, or something. She just said practice in your head, basically. And so I started thinking about some some women who I felt like that hurt me, and it made me say to myself, okay, these are the things I like about them. And I think that's when my mindset shifted to like every woman. It's something inspiring about every woman. I can look at every woman and see them as a role model. But yeah, I just want to share that. So, Sister Faith, is there anything in this particular chapter that stands out to you?
Yes,
That
ma'am.
you want to discuss?
The opening where where it says, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, before there was sun, there was a woman. Allah came out of the womb of darkness with a womb within himself. Every man has a woman in him. He, Allah, studied himself, and from himself he fashioned woman. She is his first act of creation. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Now that stands out to me because, and this really goes into our next segment, but just knowing that coming from the world, like, you don't really think that you are valuable as a, well, me, I didn't think that. I'm just like, okay, just a woman. This is literally a man's world. I see it. I see how men treat me. I see how they talk. I see how they interact. I see how they talk about women. It's just like, I'm just here just trying to find my little way. And then to come from that to hear this and to be taught that, it's like, that's, first of all, was mind blowing. And it's like, man, like, I do have some sort of divinity as a woman. There is something special about me. Like, Allah created me from himself. I was the first creation after himself. Like, that's big. Like, it wasn't the moon, it wasn't the sun, it wasn't stars, it was the Black woman. Mm-hmm. And that just, man, that just really, that's something that I'm constantly thinking about, being a woman. It's like, man, like, what does that mean? You know, like, of course, on the surface, oh, you know, we not on the surface, but we have the responsibility of making sure that the baby is okay while we're pregnant, being co-creators with Allah. We say these things and we just say them so freely, but when it's really thought about and dwelled upon, it's like, this is a serious thing. Like, this is not something that should be taken lightly. Like, I really need to cover myself during this time of pregnancy, or I really need to take this job more seriously. I really need to make sure that I'm eating properly. I need to make sure that I'm reading things that are beneficial. I need to make sure that whatever I'm listening to, whatever I'm watching, is not foolishness, so that I won't put that on my baby's mind, you know? Yeah, so that's what stood out to me out of the whole thing. It was like, whoa, this is big. And then even when she says that Allah came out of the womb of darkness with a womb within himself. Like, what? I can't even, I can't, I kind of understand it, but I don't fully understand that. It's like, yeah, I don't know about that part. That part still kind of baffles me.
Yeah, in my baby understanding, it makes me think about the womb being a mind. That's our first womb. Mm-hmm. I say that we have 3 wombs. I say we have this womb of the mind, the womb of the heart, and the physical womb that only the woman has. So the man is not gonna have 3 wombs, but he's gonna have 2. But I think that is significant. Being able to, like the word dreams we were talking about, being able to envision something, see something, and then manifest it, see it here in its fruition stage. So that's what I think it means. I don't know.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
That's what comes to my mind. Yes, ma'am. So, and I think what you were just speaking on about that also goes back to our earlier question about the transformative agent. I think you also like re-answered their question.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything else that you want to add about this chapter?
No, ma'am. No.
Okay, yes, ma'am. So our next segment is Courting Allah God. We could talk about getting married. We could talk about, going into courtship and all of that. But when's the last time we talked about Courting Allah God? So knowing that we have a national reflecting Farrakhan challenge. Since this is day one, that is our question for today for Court and Law. What is your favorite thing about being an MGT? And MGT means Muslim girl and Muslim girls in training.
I think that my favorite thing about being an MGT is learning how to be a woman, learning what it means to be a woman, learning the true nature of a woman, and learning how and why we are divine, and knowing that Allah created us individually for a specific purpose. Like, it's not just that it's not. It says in the book that Allah created the woman because He wanted to look at something other than Himself. He wanted to have a consoler and someone who was compassionate and things of that nature. And I do believe that all of those roles are really important. But I also believe that there are other things to being a woman, and just learning those other things, learning those other skills, like our 7 units, being able to know that whatever it is that a man can do, pretty much, not in the sense of like femininity and all that, but just whatever he can do, I can do this as well. And it's not like a competition. It's more so of being an addition to what he's doing or what he has established. So those are, I think that's more than one of my favorite things, but I guess I would say my favorite thing, just to categorize all of it, is being able to learn the nature of a woman and our divinity.
Yes, ma'am. I think I may have heard it wrong, but you were saying not femininity, but I think you meant feminism.
Yeah, what I said, femininity.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm like, we talk about femininity every week on the podcast.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Thank you for the correction. Yes, ma'am. People be looking back like, what's she talking about? Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
like a feminist. I'm not trying to be.
Ma'am.
I wasn't trying to be a feminist. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Those conversations, I always just want to go the other way. Like when people start talking about feminism, I'm like, y'all don't even know what y'all talking about. They be so confused themselves. Yes. Everything they say is contradicting. But anyway. Yep. So mine is a little similar to yours, but also different. So my answer, because at first I was like, how can I choose something? Like one thing. But my answer is being a girl. When I was sitting in processing class and they were saying MGT, the word that stuck out to me was girl. So I was like, oh, I'm going to be a girl. And, you know, I loved when that was talked about in processing class because I felt part of me, the sisters never made me feel this way, but part of me was feeling like, oh, where have I been all my life? Why am I just learning about the MGT? Why am I just learning about the Nation of Islam? But that girl word made me say to myself, oh, I have my whole life to learn.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Muslim girls in training, I have forever to continue to be on the journey of being in training. And that to me is like very humbling. I'm like, thank you, Allah. I don't have to be a grown woman because like that was my focus on like, okay, looking at it from the world's perspective. Okay, let me learn how to be a woman. Let me learn some sense of independency. And let me just learn like what I'm supposed to be doing as a woman. But when I looked at it from the standpoint of, oh, I'm a girl and I'm Allah's girl, I'm like, praise be to Allah. Like I can bring out the inner child in me. I can enjoy life. I can even be a little giggly I can't remember the exact words that the minister says, but he even talks about how, oh, a husband should, oh, a woman should feel like a girl around her husband, and if she doesn't, you know, basically there's something wrong there. And so when I get all giggly and all of that with my husband, it just like really excites me, and it just it makes me feel like the best to be around him. But that's also how I feel with Allah. When I'm sincerely submitting to him, and when I'm just studying, I feel like a little girl again. I feel like and what I mean by that is like one who can imagine something and be like, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could do that. And I just feel like I have like endless possibilities. And when I stop feeling like a girl and I feel like a woman, that's when I feel lost.
Yes, ma'am.
So as I reflected on my answer, like I'm still reflecting on that. Like I think that's a big question. Like what's the question again?
What is your favorite thing about being an MGT?
Yeah, like what is your favorite thing?
Yes,
I got a lot of favorite things. But that's right, Sister Tarika, we could do anything. And speaking on being a live girl, go listen to Sister Tarika's episode, because I really think she's a reflection of being a live girl. So go listen to that episode. Do you have anything else to add?
Not to that, no, ma'am.
Okay, yes, ma'am. So for our next segment, maintaining peace, and if you have another question, it's fine for maintaining peace, but elaborating on your answer, Sister Faith, about courting Allah God and what is your favorite thing about being an MGT, how does that give you peace? So how does it give you peace to learn the role and the nature of a woman and the divinity of a woman?
That gives me peace by knowing that my value is not determined by man. My value is determined by Allah, which means that my value is infinite. It's not just like, oh, I feel this way about you today, but now I don't like you anymore, so your value is pretty much bon voyage. It's no, it doesn't. I was about to say it's no exist. It doesn't exist anymore, and it's like, so I'm invaluable now because of the way you feel about me today.
Right.
No. Allah's feeling about me right today. Just but in a couple of minutes you're gonna be feeling good, but right now you ain't feeling good. So now I mean nothing. But that gives me peace and knowing like, wow, you know what? And Sister Dr. Ava says that as long as when Allah stops thinking about us, then we're no longer here, or we will cease to exist. I believe that's what she said. And knowing that, it's like, okay, so obviously I'm doing something right. I still have a purpose here, and that's why I'm still here. So which means I am still valuable. And that just gives me peace in knowing that, like, just makes me feel good. It makes me look forward to another day with just knowing that, you know what, I am valuable. There is some divinity in me because I was created by the creator of life.
Right. I definitely agree with all of that. And I think for myself, going back to what I was saying about when I embraced being a girl, a live girl, I remember what my husband used to say. I don't know, he just used to call me girl, and I'm like, I'm not your girl. I'm a live girl. I used to be like, I'm a live girl. But when you really submit and embrace being a live girl, for me at least, what I was saying earlier, I think that gives me the most peace. It's when I feel like I'm a woman and I'm looking for, like when I was working in corporate America, I'm like that. I was not a girl. I was so far out of my nature, and I wanted it to be over, and I felt drained a lot. But when you're a girl and when you're doing girly things, like you said, the importance of knowing your nature, when you're doing the things that are in your nature, like you just glow, you just shine, and you're just at peace and you're happy. So, yeah, I don't have anything else to add to that. What about you?
No, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
That's it.
Okay, so now out to you.
Alrighty, sisters. So this part of our podcast, this segment is Come On Sis. And my question for you, Sister Destiny, is it or has it been easy to not focus on your goals or dreams after getting married? And if so, how did you get back on track? And if not, how did you remain centered?
You know, this topic comes up a lot in our podcast.
It does.
I think a lot wants us to focus on this because, you know, reading this chapter in Naturally Beautiful, and Sister Ava says, she said the purpose of this book, which I didn't even understand that. I didn't even know that before reading that. What this little book is about, however, is the idea that we as women need to be able to have our own dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the whole purpose of reading this book is getting us back on track.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Honestly, I think that this book has been helping me. So I got off track, and I got off track because I had too much change at once.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, like, I don't recommend that for any sister. But if you, for me personally, if I was ever to go through that much change at once again, I would be openly talking about it. Like, now with me going to therapy and being able to express that to help me to be able to see that, because there's just some things we can't look at our spouses as our counselors and our therapists, and we can't look at them to understand everything.
I agree.
And even like your parents, your sisters, like, you just have to talk to somebody else. You have to talk to a third party who, it could be somebody who knows you, but I think it's better to talk to somebody who also doesn't know you, because they will end up having a clear perspective, and being able to see you and how you present yourself and whatever you actually bring to the table. So I got off track, and that helped me to get back on track, having a therapist and just being open about what I was even expressing, because at one point I wasn't even I wasn't letting anybody know that anything was wrong with me. And when you do that, sometimes you don't even realize something is wrong with you. I knew something was off with me, but I didn't know what was off, what was wrong with me. So, no, it has not been easy for me since being on the journey of being married. But I got back on track with talking about it, which helped me to be very honest about where I'm at and assessing myself. And now strengthening my relationship with Allah. It was even yesterday when I couldn't sleep, and I texted my husband, and he was like, I said, I can't sleep. He said, maybe Allah wants to talk to you. I was like, thank you for the reminder. So, like, also, it's not just prayer for me, because I hear pray. And yes, I do pray. But I think everybody should do this, but I have to find ways to build my connection with Allah. And for me, the way that I do that looks very different than everybody else. I'm sure of it. But It's not just me praying on the prayer rug, or if I'm sitting down. I actually have to write down my prayers. And that helps me so much. And I stopped doing that when I moved here. But I did that after my husband texted me that. It took me a little bit. I just like got myself together, and I started writing my prayers out again. And that that's not the first time, but I'm just using that because that's the last time I did that. But that has been helping me, Sister Faith. It's like I hear Allah more clear, and I hear Him telling me what to do, and I'm no longer being like, why? I'm like, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. That's good. For me, I think, well, I was not focused on my goals or my dreams. And similar to you, I think that there was too many changes at once, and I was not able to adapt quickly. And I didn't adapt to my circumstances or the situation. it was just like everything changed so rapidly, and I'm like trying to get caught up. And that's why I'm really grateful for our podcast episode with Sister Tarika, because she mentioned and she talked about adaptability, and it made me reflect on myself and say, you know what, I have to learn how to adapt to things that I need to adapt to. And if I don't have to make that if I don't have to make that adjustment, I don't have to make that adjustment. I can stay where I am and adjust or adapt when that time comes. But to try to take everything on at once, it's like, okay, I'm losing some parts of myself. I'm losing some sort of control to an extent. And if I don't feel like I have any type of control over anything, it's like I'm trying to regain some sort of control, regain some sort of stability so that I can go back to moving forward. Excuse me. And how I got back on track was similar to you, just being able to talk about it. But the main thing was recognizing, like, man, I am not myself. I'm not feeling good. I'm not in a good space. I'm just not right. Like, I don't know what's wrong, but like you said, I don't know exactly what's wrong, but I know I don't feel right. And once I started reading, I started back reading. And once I started back reading and getting my mind off of things, that's when I started to reflect on myself and analyze myself and say, oh, okay, this is the area that I'm not doing well in. I need to focus more on this. And I don't like to read books that are just like fantasy. I do like to read a lot of self-help books and like books about life, psychology. I didn't mean to say psychology. Philosophy and things like that. I like reading those type of books. So being able to read books like that really helped me out a lot and helped me to get back on the path that I wanted to be on and that I want to be on.
Yeah, so. I agree. Reading really helps.
Mm-hmm.
It allows you to step outside of here for a moment. All the
yes,
things
ma'am.
you create and probably making up.
Mm-hmm.
And then read
exactly.
something to pour into your heart and
yes,
into your mind. So yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Did you want to add anything else to that one? All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the last segment, which is self-care. And my question is, considering the question that you posed earlier from Sister Dr. Ava, do you think it's imperative to your health, your mental and physical health, to have your own dreams and desires?
Yes, because of what you mentioned earlier about individuality.
Mm-hmm.
I think when there's not a sense of individuality, that you could start resenting your spouse.
I agree.
And if you're not married, I just think that you'll get into a place of envy. Like when you look at Cain and Abel, like Cain, he didn't appreciate who he was. He didn't appreciate what God gave him. He didn't appreciate his own assignment. And so I think when you talk about your health, mental and physical, I think that we send our minds on this roller coaster where it's not functioning in a place of reality and truth. It's just based on your baby perspective that has nothing to do with Allah. Like, we remove Allah from the picture. So I think we need to have some type of dream, some type of desires, because it gives us a sense of purpose. And when you don't have a sense of purpose, I think that's when we start looking at everybody else, and envy can lead to death. So and the last thing I'll even say is the parable of the talents. In the book, I don't think it was God necessarily who gave them the talents, but we know it's God. But the different men were given talents. One got 10, one got 3, and one got 1. The person who got 1, he buried his. And so, like, he didn't have a desire. He didn't have any dreams. He just was holding on to it.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't get another one. But I think when we think about it from the sense of the teachings, when we are given the gift and we don't act on it, Allah can take it from us.
Sure can, and He will.
And yeah, and I was just about to say, and He will,
Mm-hmm.
and He will, and He'll give it to somebody else, and then you'll be looking at them like, dang, I had that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like they stole it from, they didn't steal that from you.
Right.
It was God's to begin with, but you didn't act on it.
Yes,
And,
ma'am.
and I think that itself leads us to death. So I think, yes, I think it's imperative. It's important.
Mm-hmm. I actually just agree with everything that you said. I think it is extremely imperative to your mental and physical health, because if you don't have your own dreams and desires, and it's like, what are you living for? What's your purpose? What keeps you going? What drives you? What motivates you? And if you don't have any drive or self-motivation, it's like, I'm just watching everybody else be successful or become successful or become interested in this or that, and I'm just stagnant. So yes, ma'am, I definitely I agree with everything that you said.
I think just one more thing to the fact, I think
Mm-hmm.
we have to add the spiritual component.
Mm-hmm.
Because we could read all the books, we could pray all day,
Mm-hmm.
but when we don't have any dreams or desires, our spirit starts to die.
Yes, ma'am, sure does. Yes, ma'am. And that actually goes into the last question for this segment, which is, by not having them and them referring to dreams and desires, do you think it'll take away from your ability to care for yourself?
I think so, because you start to lose your purpose. You start to become a robot. Like, when I talk to people who still work for other people and they're not happy, some people are okay with working for other people.
Mm-hmm.
But when I talk to people who genuinely want to do for self and who are not doing that, they just sound like a little dead. And I think that they forget to do things for themselves. But also, when I talk to my older family members or just older people in general, when I ask them, what do you want to do? What did you want to do when you were younger? What did you, just at any point in your life, what did you want to do? What was your dream? What did you see for yourself? And when they say, I don't know. And I'm typically asking somebody this. I mean, sometimes I ask people this even when they seem or appear to be happy or at peace. But most of the time I'm asking that question because I could tell something is wrong with them. And so, and what I mean by something is wrong with them, it appears to be that they're not taking care of themselves. Assalamu alaikum, Zaid. What's that? Oh, a ring pop, is that what they call it?
Yeah. What's this?
What color is it?
Yeah, it's called ring pop.
What color is it? She said.
Green.
Good job. Keep eating that bean soup and help you be smart.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have super muscles.
Yes. So when you, so yeah, I mostly ask that to people who just seem like they living a life day by day, and it look like at any point they would check out. So I think it does take away from your ability to take care of yourself, because it's like, it's this one person I particularly have on my mind. They go get their hair done, they do all this stuff, but they're sad. That's like, taking care of yourself is not getting your hair does not take care of yourself, which goes back to the episode with Sister Mecca and the episode with Sister Tarika. You know, we think about this physical things to take care of ourselves, but what are you doing spiritually to take care of yourself? So yes, I think the answer is yes. I just talked way too much on that, but I hope it makes sense.
No, it makes sense, and I agree with you. I think that not having your own dreams and desires do take away from your, I wouldn't say your ability to. I think that you still can do it,
right,
but
yeah.
I do believe that it'll take away from your, like, you won't be as interested in doing it. It's like, yeah, I can do this, like you just said. I can go get my hair done, get my nails done, but I'm not really interested. It's like I just do this because now it's a part of my routine, and this is what I do. But there's a lack of interest there. So I think it's really essential for women to have their own dreams and desires, like Sister Dr. Ava said, so that we will not lose that sense of individuality, and it'll take away from what makes us us, what makes us unique in our own right. But yes, ma'am, I just wanted to add that because I was in agreement with everything that you said. So yes, ma'am, that was it for me.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Anything else that you want to discuss before we close out?
No, I think that's about it for me. We covered a lot. we discussed a lot. But yes, ma'am, that's it for me. Did you want to have anything else you wanted to add, sister?
No, ma'am. Thank you for this conversation.
Thank you,
and thank
sister.
you for those who popped in, popped out, who stayed with us.
Yes, ma'am. We do thank everybody, and thank you for tuning in to Black Tea. We are two Muslim girls in training, MGT, who practice femininity, strive to be spiritual, and live in our truth. We actually are looking for We are looking for guests to join us, sister couples, mother and daughter duos. We are also open to your ideas, so feel free to message us. You can comment below, or you can click on the link in our bio. In order to become a guest. And we would like to hear your thoughts, feedback, comment, criticism, anything like that. You can put that in True Tea Talks. True Tea Talks. Hashtag True Tea Talks. There you go. I'm getting this, Sister Destiny. I'm getting the hashtag. There we go. Hashtag True Tea Talks. But yes, ma'am, if there's anything else, then I guess that is the end of our 18th podcast episode.
That's it. Well, thank you, Sister Faith.
Thank you, Sister Destiny.
All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.